Straight into the action here, Squid. We got Forza against Apeks on Forza's map pick of Inferno. They'll be starting on the T side, of course. Bomb on Flit. Couple of nades on Jerry and Kenzie. And Zorta, despite the fact that he should be saving that money for his AWP later on, he's got himself a deagle. 3 sets of Kevlar on the T's. Meanwhile, Polly with the smoke in the kit. Everybody else just with Kevlar on the defensive side. 3 members towards B, and that's where Forza seem to want to go. So they'll be walking into a bit of a stack here.
This is basically as bad as it gets on a pistol for Forza, especially with Freddy Frog. The opportunity to bring the 4th man over, that would be a sturdy defense. Smokes over the top, relay all of the information that Apeks need to confirm this stack. Shouldn't really fall on deaf ears. Pile driving through, though, and Forza just whitewashed right over the top. The bomb to go down, and this one looks hopeless.
Those advantages are supposed to be for Apeks. Now they've only got 2 members, no utility, 2 sets of Kevlar. Are they even gonna go for this?
They are locked out. There's still a smoke grenade bloomed in one of the major choke points. And look at this defense from Forza. They are watching, waiting, 3 players holding the line. Dennis is about to walk into surely his death. Oh no, Flit takes the headshot. And there is the follow-up. Forza 1-0.
You almost never see Apeks in that scenario only come away with 1 kill with 3 members on the B bomb site. Remember, when you're coming into a bomb site, it doesn't matter how many numbers you have. It matters how many angles you have to clear. And Forza had so many, but still managed to mop that one up. All 3 members going down, only 1 on the side of Forza, and that will give them the pistol almost every single time in that 2v4. So that is exactly what we see. MP9, really the only notable purchase. Couple of deagles and a 5.7. That's on the CT side. Let's see if it's another B hit. Right now, just a little bit of information. Tag onto Jerry. He's got the read, though.
Yeah, they need the flash over the top. You see that merits them, the initial opener. You never really want to challenge Gruss with a deagle, especially on the B bomb site. And there's another flashbang to secure a second. Lovely stuff. Forza a player down. A little bit of HP lost on Jerry as well. There go the smokes. Right over the top. Polly doesn't have anything to work with. Conserving the cash, mind you, for maybe even an early double AWP setup. Kreese could fall into that category as well. Steals an MP9 back. Doesn't have the body armor, so might even throw that one over. Replaced by perhaps a 5.7. You see Dennis maneuvering his way to the B bomb site as well. There's a definite opportunity to switch that one up.
Yeah, with 3 members back here for the defenders, it's not looking too hot if Forza want to commit off of this, but they've taken things slow. Disciplined, as is their nature on the T side.
Ooh.
They'll spot out 1 player aggressing. That's Polly.
He takes
will
the
not
risk.
be punished.
That's all of the information granted and given. He spotted all 3 players there jumping over that broken wall. Forza still need to respond, knowing that they've got no mid control. They're forced into the B bomb site. Flashes over the top. That smoke will dissipate soon. And along with the flower pot boost that they desperately have to check, Flit doesn't. They come pile driving in. This is a stack. Forza walking into it for the 2nd time, and knowing that Jerry almost out of bullets, he instantly falls. That's disgusting.
That is brilliant from Apeks. You saw the gears turning when Polly makes those jumps. He gets the flower pot boost going. He gets the positioning done. The angles held. Apeks stealing 1 back, and really what is Forza's style. Now we'll have to see what Forza want to do. They've thrown their pistols around. Got their tack out already. Couple of sets of Kevlar. It will be a bit of a force with some upgraded pistols. We're going to have to see what all everybody else wants to do, but oh, this might actually be a bit of a tech. We do have a couple players missing. Have to see what Apex's buy looks like after all this. So that was a pretty impressive mid-round read, something we see pretty much nothing of in the Dust 2 map that preceded this one. Remember, that was a Forza stomp. It's a good thing that Apeks answered back, because otherwise Forza might have thought they were still on Dust 2, finishing up that match and getting a lot more round wins.
Most notably, Dust 2, it was Forza winning those mid-round scenarios. Even a player or 2 down, felt like they could pull the rabbit out of a hat every single time. It's the 2nd technical we've seen this map. Initially, it was Forza. Both teams having a couple of these minor issues. Now to stabilize the economy and just go for the buyout once again. Dennis, Freddy Frog. I wonder if they have to reset this one, knowing that they've got no rifles. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that will have to be answered back. Remember, of course, it was a bit of a force buy victory in the 2nd round just a few moments ago. So have to see where everything goes for them. Freddy Frog and Dennis, members reconnecting. Dennis already down to 3 deaths. Means he's got plenty of participation in this map so far. Have to see that continue. He was essentially the team's top fragger in Dust 2, along with Pauly having an impressive performance. The round is live indeed. Gruss, of course, with that AK-47 recovered, should have a bit more impact himself, and see what Forze want to do with their pistols. We know they're so scary in these scenarios, and with 2 members having head armor as well, it's pretty effective against these CT rifles.
It's always impressive to die 3 times in 2 rounds.
Certainly is, if you're not no mathematician, might be a little confused in that scenario.
Pistols.
Come into this 3rd round.
Yeah, these pistols just creep up towards mid. They want to take this one with a slower approach. They've made no sound cues on their voyage up to the apartments. Means that Apeks, even though they're playing up close and personal, they won't hear any of this information as they scurry forward into the bedrooms. Dennis wants to dismount the boost just so he can throw that smoke grenade back and be a present danger on the boiler. 50 seconds.
Yeah, Forza have this round here very slowly. And that kind of signals to Apeks as well. This is a real round. It's not just a couple of Glocks that you're up against. You're up against some real stuff. There's utility being thrown around. Is going to be this A hit. 3 members towards B for the defenders. Could pose a threat. Oh, but 1 player gets spotted out. That's Jerry already, and Freddy Frog will be able to radio that information in.
That's unfortunate to take that much damage early on, and Freddy Frog has been isolated at the back of this bomb site. He's doing all of the damage. Now needs to radio into Polly to try and take care of the rest. Zorte, we've seen him clutch so many times on this A bomb site in previous tournaments, even able to salvage a FAMAS. There was an M4 right behind him, but doesn't want to take the risk to actually pry it back. Instead, tap away for the heads. He's great with the rifles as well, unable to get the job done this time.
Yeah, he's so accurate with that headshot percentage. Zorte, impressing in that 1-on-2 scenario. If he could duck back down behind the box, he might have a bit of a chance, but Korea is able to crack off his head. That will be another round for Apeks. Now up for the first time they have been this entire series. Comes in an unlikely time as well in Forza's map pick. Go into the 4th. Just be Deagles. No utility, but Zorte fancies himself a bit of a head armor. That'll be it. 5 Deagles. That's it for Forza. They're going to be playing this one a bit scrappier, probably a bit faster than we saw in the last round as well. 2 SMGs for Apeks means that there is the danger of being able to farm up and get that economy ballooning.
Let's be honest, in those scenarios, you have to play safety in numbers. In a 2 versus 1 against Zorte especially, we saw him clutch so many times on Dust 2. You don't want that to happen again here on Map 2.
Yeah, agreed. You can't have Zorte activating super early, especially in those scenarios where he doesn't even have the weaponry that he's normally notorious for. That AWP in the cards for him if, of course, Forza play the economy game correctly. Gruss taking some peeks, gets a bit of damage. Of course, he is on that half wall spotting out some info. 4 members for the defenders right now in this A bomb site, and they are not biting on any rotate either. Forza seem to have a bit of a read here with 3 members lingering towards Banana. Gruss to receive yet again.
We've seen them isolate this defender so many times. Realistically, Apeks in the last couple have been playing 3 on B, now changing it up, a more default approach. Finally wrapping that second man, Dennis, over. He's only got an MP9 to play with, so right behind those smokes, definitely the place that he wants to be. Flip will wait for this to dissipate, trying to catch anybody getting cheeky towards the middle of the map. This will be slow. They take it arch side. Maybe even trying to isolate a B split, which doesn't really look like Apeks are aware of. The MP9 gets caught in translation. He's got Dennis here as well to support. They know where both defenders are, and now there's only one to deal with, but a couple of seconds on the clock means surely this bomb doesn't go down. Gruss disallows it. Beautiful stuff. He finds the headshots, and only 1 rifle salvaged. The money is in absolute chaos, Pronogo.
Yeah, that was such a crazy round with 10 seconds on the clock when the bomb was exiting Banana towards B. You almost never see that, but with 4 members able to sneak all the way towards that CT spawn speedway scenario, oh wow, what a crazy round. Could have so easily gone the way of Forza. With that bomb plant getting denied because of that 3rd member, might be something that Jerry starts to read on this Forza side, because Apeks have been doing that quite a bit in these mid rounds. It's going to be 3 towards A now for them, and obviously money favoring. Zorte with an MP9 recovered. Kenzie with the M4. Rest on AKs. Utility galore.
This is where we see what Forza are really made of. Apartments control in a slow stance. That previous round looked chaotic, but for CIS Counter-Strike, maybe they're leaving 1 extra second on the board than would usually be the case. We see such slow pace in the CIS scene especially. Just think about it. The Gambits, the Na'Vis of the world.
Yeah, Forza standing on the shoulders of giants in that respect. Inheriting a little bit of that pedigree. Zorte fancying with the Deagle instead of that MP9 for those longer ranges. Pretty standard stuff. And this is what we saw in that Deagle round just of 1 round ago, was Forza kind of checking a lot of these angles just with their bodies, not necessarily with any utility. They didn't have one in the last round, but using the nades of their opponents against them. Here comes the explosion.
Right through these smokes. That flashbang does nothing. Gross fortunately traded, but there are so many bodies here for Apeks. And again, only 9 seconds left. This bomb surely won't go away. Almeza knows that there's coverage on Banana, and through the smoke he's found, Dennis cannot single-handedly clutch the round. And with Freddy Frog stuck inside of Palace here, there's no way to get out, especially with Jerry holding the angles. That was beautiful from Forza. They waited till the last possible second, and through the chaos, Apeks aren't able to get the job done.
I can't believe Forza go for that again as well. It did not work out for them the last 2 or 3 times they tried it, and we're only going into round number 6. Forza's 2nd round win off the back of absolute bedlam. And Apeks not able to make it across the finish line in that scenario. That will reset their economy. Remember, only 1 member left at the end of that Deagle round from Forza means that they do not have the cash in reserve to do anything other than upgraded pistols and a single Mag 7 on Dennis. That is so brutal. But with Freddy opening up, they might be able to make it work all the same.
Apeks played that situation perfectly. They conserved the smoke until the 20-second mark. There was no way for Forza to get into the B-bomb site unless they pushed through the clouds. They do somehow successfully, even with Dennis trading places. He's unable to deny that bomb from going away. Forza take it to 2 off the back of that. Unreal. Smoke's placed. The nade won't connect. Forza have already lost the opening. Remember these pistols in the hands of Apeks. This was one of the storylines we were building up earlier, Pronogo. Knowing how good they are. Kreese especially. Popping shots through the smoke. Flap hop boost still established. And right over the top, Freddy Frog with unbelievable damage. They're walking into the stack once again, and they barely get anything done for it.
Yeah, $900 for Dennis as well off the back of that shotgun kill, and that will be a solid hold from Apeks. There's been so many good calls coming out from Pauly perhaps in this scenario, sort of calling and IGLing. And at this point, I mean, can you blame him? He's gotten so much done in these mid-rounds. Forza down by 2. Of course, down economically as well. That's 3 AKs recovered on the CT side. Not every day you see something like that. Symptom of a dominant half. They're able to make it close. No cigar on the T side just yet.
The rotation's so important on Inferno. We talk about it so much.
And the question is, do Apeks continue to gamble correctly? Is it even a gamble at this point, or is it just a flat-out read? Nade's so good. Slowing them down at every turn. What can the T's realistically do in this scenario? They've got the utility to throw out his counters, but Apeks just connect more on him, just like that nade.
That's the tricky part about playing the T side of Inferno. You're always walking into HEs and through smokes. Flit inside of the apartments. Well, really needs to burst to life, and they line up for him right in the central point of that site. Knowing that Freddy Frog's playing up at the top, a balcony, he's easily able to convert all three. Forze now have this bomb site completely clean, and due to how close these rounds have been, Pronogo, Apeks don't really have the money to commit to this one. They're stuck.
Yeah, 2-on-4 retake. I don't think it's on the cards. Realistically, Apeks are just going to be looking for exits here. Bomb's already too far ticked down to take it any differently. 2 flashes and a smoke. Kree's already called out.
No. As they lose these rifles further, that's going to pressure the economy going into the next. Round number 8 won't be a pretty one for Apeks, especially if Kree's drops 4 HP, scurries away. The question mark here is, do Forze want to chase him? It seems to be the case. Flit should hear those footsteps. Trickling into Graveyard. Can he find it last possible second? No, supposedly not. Kree's, that is a clutch headshot.
Yeah, denies him the ace as well. Flit with so much impact entering through apartments in that round. It was beautiful coming out from him. And that's the worry. When Forze can start to read that you're overstacking some sites, they're not going to be caught off guard nearly as much when they get those first 2 entries, or maybe even 3. You saw every member of Forze checking angles before the bomb goes down. They're not going to make those same mistakes over and over again. And Apeks, they've got to have a deeper playbook than what Pauly's already been deploying if they are going to handle Forze in these mid-half scenarios. It's already going down as well. Coach falling. Dirty wallbangs. Didn't even get a chance.
Incredibly brutal. There's really no way to punish that one as well. As soon as you get tapped, yeah, you try and maneuver your way towards one of the sides of the corridor. There's no way out. You have to back off. It takes about 5 seconds, and as those bullets rain in, it is quite literally like shooting fish in a barrel. It can be unconfirmed damage a lot of the time. Certainly confirmed when you see it on the kill feed. This should be easy. They don't check the pit for Dennis, and as he springs to life, only does 1 kill's worth of damage, so that won't prevent this bomb from going away here. Kenzie to plant it. They still want to bait out further members, knowing a single AK-47 was saved. That's their prize here. They'll be hard fought to find it. Grizz, he's stuck on the B-bomb site. Didn't even want to play a part in this one.
He's top of the scoreboard for Apeks. He's playing his part when he can, but right now I've got my eyes on that mini-map, and Jerry's hunting, feeling him out. Right now, Kree's stuck in ruins, as you mentioned. If he falls, then it'll be an even worse for Ware CT side going into the 9th. Tie game on our hands here. Forze with 4 on the board. Just as soon as this bomb explodes, or as Kree's falls, multiple members for the T's now.
Let's be honest.
Into this position.
How hard fought those initial rounds were, Pronogo, I really don't feel for Apex's chances in this one. It does look like Forze are just the better team. They also steal away that AK-47. That adds insult to injury going into what otherwise is a fairly janky buy. Pauly only $3,600.
Yeah, and the buys are coming in as well. Plenty of compromises already on your screen. Kree's, without that AK-47, able to drop over another rifle. He's going to have to full invest. And there will be an AWP on Freddy Frog. No armor. A single smoke on that player as well. That's what they're bringing into this round. It's desperate. It's janky. But can they make it work? They've done it with less.
We certainly have. This AWP, prime position.
Perfect. Yeah, how do they expect that? They don't. Not after all the economic management they've done. Gamble pays off. Freddy takes the opening kill. Question is whether or not the rest of his teammates can do anything off of the back of it. There's a boost over here.
This is so aggressive. I don't think Forze in such advanced positions will be expectant of this broken wall take. Instead, it's Pauly getting over aggro once again. They're setting him early to find the information. He's the fisherman on the side. Instead, catches a shark. It bites his face off. Forze should be able to roll this one over the top. Big advantage with the AKs.
And this is what I was talking about earlier, Squid, with Forze getting these reads developed. It's kind of obvious who has the deeper playbook here. Only 9 rounds in, but the Forze round wins have been so much more dominant most of the time. And even the rounds that Apeks have won, as you said earlier, hard fought. Very competitive.
It does feel like Apeks have stacked the correct bomb site the majority of the time, and they've done it once again. They've got 3 towards A. If they cannot find this initial M4A1S, there's no opportunity to hold them back, and they do. Freddy Frog tries to convert it. Now they know where the AWP is playing from, but it's a firing range. They've got everybody.
Yeah, how often do you see 4 frags from Freddy Frog in that scenario when he's not got any armor? Little bit of aim punch and he's fallen over. Just a slight breeze at that point, but it's a breeze for him, that's for sure. 5 rounds, Apeks, match paused. Forze got to talk themselves into this one, going into round number 10, and their economy looks okay for a 5 rifle buy if that's what they want to do, but there will be some concessions. Maybe a couple MAC-10s to create space, but that kind of tactic doesn't work out as well when you're going into Inferno, especially in a well-equipped CT side. I say well-equipped. Look at Apex's buy. All the economic damage, it's ringing true in this round as well. 2 FAMASas and a Mag-7? The only proper rifles they have are Apex's, Freddy Frog's op, and that's it. Krea's M4.
Thankfully, he's got the body armor this time, but that might not even mean much against Desert Eagles especially, which can just rip your face off, especially if he's playing ever so aggressive. We might see him take a risk here in round 10.
Yeah, not yet investing here. Looks like he'll come to. There's the AK-47 buy from him. Plenty of utility, but Forze don't mind a little bit of a slower start. They've done that plenty of times in this half alone. And they're looking to tie game back up once again. Apeks still maintaining a lead, but this round will likely be messy, especially if there's anything else to go by or the previous rounds that we've seen. Forze like to get chaotic.
Well, they do. We've got to remember, 1 win on the board here from Forza, and it's economical turmoil, and that might be the first symptom, and the second. With Molotovs through mid, you're never expectant of the peak. With Forza barraging their way on, there's still 2 players yet to rotate through the counter-terrorist spawn. They've been outmaneuvered by Almeiser especially, who's watching this crossfire down and away. He can peek into the library if needed, but catches the wrong timing. That gives away a Vulcan. And realistically, here in Library, how do they get out of this one? Especially with Flit trying to double down on the aggression towards Arch side. Quick shot, the follow-up through, and Forza have done it. That breaks the economy.
Forza's spacing is so good. You saw that Molotov go to top mid, and of course that's from Freddy Frog himself. He's getting that fire down, but he gets fired down himself later on, and it's just so brutal because you expect the peak coming up from Boiler. He changes focus, especially since who would push a molly? Well, Forza do. They find a couple openings, and at that point, those are the primary rifles coming in from Apeks. They're back down to pistols. A couple smokes, that's it. Maybe they can make things awkward, but not when Polly goes down initially. Zorte finally back on that sniper rifle. Gonna make it sing. Opening kill, man advantage, weaponry advantage as well, and sure, Flit will take that peak any day of the week.
I talked economical turmoil. They're now in double eco territory. That forces them into this buy. There's no way out. Looks like a not very smart risk if maybe you're newer to Counter-Strike. But this is exactly what you've got to do. There was no chance of investment over in round 12 either. And certainly won't be as they lose this one. This is being prized apart. Balcony completely controlled by Flit. We've seen him do that so many times this map. The expensive, pricey star here from Forza, really flexing his muscles on Inferno. We've seen him almost single-handedly get the back into this map. He's been a threat absolutely everywhere. Quick kills, and those pistols are not potent whatsoever. So many times has that happened this series. When Apeks have gone for these force buys, they've fallen on deaf ears.
Almost every single time, Squid. I mean, only Kenzie going down in that scenario. You at least want to manage some of the T economy. Maybe steal away that AWP from Zorte where we know he can be so impactful, but it doesn't happen this time around. And of course, breaking it out into this round as well. Number 12, you talked about it. No economy, no investment, saving for the next. And Forza will take a 2-round lead unless something miraculous happens. Apeks wanted to come at the cost of a 5-man stack towards A, and this is the round where Forza are checking B instead. The one time they gamble wrong, and it will be a free bomb site if Forza bother to check.
Certainly looks to happen as well. The only win condition is if Forza walk into this stack. That doesn't seem to be the case whatsoever. Kenzie will watch towards mid, and confirming so many players means they can likely just ice skate into that B site. Plant the bomb. It's an easy round to confirm. Kenzie, there are no nades to take him away, so instead they're blindly spraying through these smoke grenades, allowing Flit to more and more eco-frags. This is brutal again. Kenzie doesn't even need to take the face. Instead, he's on 3 points of health. One bullet in the pinky toe would take him down. So over towards the second mid, he finds even more. These USPSs aren't doing the damage that you would necessarily expect. One AK stolen. Gruss tries to back off. Obviously, Dennis can get slightly more aggro to try and confirm another rifle. I don't see that happening, though, with Forze sending their full HP players out first. This is slow.
Yeah, surely we don't see anything coming out from this. No further damage from Apeks. Dennis not even interested in peeking, despite there's nothing invested on his person. Maybe he'll take a cheeky look at the end.
Yeah.
See if Forza present. There's that 7th round. Gruss does well to find that AK-47, but will it be enough? Paulie can invest in the AWP and toss it over to one of the more primary snipers. Instead, he opts for more utility. Common on Inferno. Gonna see a full investment coming out from Apeks in round number 13. Sometimes they are able to get those man advantages, and on that defensive side, it is a little bit easier to secure, at least on Inferno, a round win off the back of that. But Forza, it's so tricky to read in these early stages. A little bit easier when there's no time left on the board.
Inferno is such a punishing map when you're playing against Forza. They can dominate you on both sides. That CT half, which is always tough and tricky. We've seen Apeks mismanage their economy. Not even real mismanagement, though. They've just been kept on low cash. And once again, the stack, but it's gone the wrong way. They've got 4 on A, leaving only Gruss isolated. He needs to radio it in. But this information certainly isn't enough. They throw the bomb all the way over. And nades, yes, they do damage. But surely, how do they expect to get back into this one? It might be off the back of this utility, but peppering shots through the smoke. Jerry was completely blind there. He had no idea where these players were holding from, but it's shooting fish in a barrel again. Unconfirmed damage, but a lot at that. Dennis is trying to scurry through. The double peaks come in, and there's so many players watching and waiting. Apeks can actually battle this one away, knowing that the boost isn't necessarily in place, but Kenzie might even go back for it. It's still established right over the top. They know where both players are holding from, and Forza can hold it down with brutal firepower.
That is so brilliant from Forza. I love the boost in that position, especially since Jerry was so far out in that middle of the site scenario as well. He's drawing so much attention away that by the time you finally get into the site to try to retake on the defensive side, you just get blindsided by it. Forza with an 8th, and it's definitive as well. You expected Apeks to maybe get a little bit more damage done, try to threaten for the defuse, but they couldn't get near that bomb. Now, of course, there's going to be attack. Why wouldn't you? You're down by 3 rounds, and this buy not looking too hot either. Okay, if Forza take the 9th, win the half by even more, you'll at least have a buy in the 15th. But I gotta say, I'm not looking forward to what Apeks have for us. They've just got an MP9, 2 Deagles, 2 5.7s, and 4 nades between all of them. 2 smokes, 2 flashbangs. What can you do on Inferno of all maps with that against a team like Forza who like to slow things down and make you bleed?
Not a lot.
It's been real rewarding to watch Zorte sort of slot into this as well. He didn't even need the AWP to find impact early. Now he has it. Of course he's going to be on the scoreboard.
That's the real surprise for this matchup to me. As I said before, with C-Power out of the roster, you thought that Zorte might actually be somewhat of a liability here in this series. He hasn't. Maybe my MVP of the whole thing. He's really stepped up. And the pressure is certainly applied. They're playing in Premier for a spot in the Pro League. It's their only path to get to ESL Pro League, remember. There's a couple of them in the offer for this European region. Remember, if you top the whole thing, you're getting through straight away. The next 3 teams, they get to battle it out in a global challenge. Maybe it's not branded as that anymore, but that's certainly what it is. Akin to, in this scenario, where, yeah, you're facing off against some of the weaker teams in Pro League, some of the best teams in Premier. And Forze certainly establishing themselves as one of the top 4 teams here in this tournament. They've been beautiful in the games that we've watched, at least, over in other tournaments as well. They've established themselves as one of the best in the CIS scene. It's just a shame they've got so many big names above them. The like Gambit, Virtus Pro, those real rosters who have been taking the world by storm.
Yeah, that's the narrative for Forza as well. I said earlier that they were standing on the shoulders of giants to develop their tactical playbook, but when you've got to be David versus Goliath in that scenario, actually playing against them is a whole nother matter entirely. However, against Apeks, up by 4 rounds, they're looking to close things out with double digits. Apeks will make it difficult with a full buy. Forza have dealt with this in the past, and the momentum rather, is on their side. Can't be expecting them to drop this one, especially if they get those opening frags that they are so known for. And we saw on the CT side of Dust 2, even when they're down 1-2 players at times, doesn't even matter. They still pull a round out of the hat.
Let's be honest, Pronogo, the CIS scene was basically the joke of CS for years and years, through all of those major qualifiers when we could barely string a couple of good CIS teams together. How have times changed? Here on Inferno, Forza definitely flexing their muscles. Could certainly finish this one off with double digits, albeit they've lost the first man. Here comes the AWP, though, right over this smoke. Those boosts have been so impactful. We saw it on the retake. We've seen it on the defense multiple times on Dust 2. And now once again to open up the B site, only leaving Krias here. An M1S and no smokes to try and prevent this. Means Dennis needs to get aggressive. That flashbang flawless. He was set up perfectly. And able to find one as a result. There's still a couple of flashbangs left on the B bomb site. That's from Polly, who's rotated in. You'd think the coach knows how to use them. They haven't spotted like Jerry, though. Look at this position. Ooh, that's awkward.
Yeah, look at this as well. What do Forza do? 20 seconds on the clock. Op has to crowbar their way into this site against 2 members. So little time, 15 seconds.
Please let this be Zorte's opportunity. Unfortunately, he faces the wrong way. Incorrect angle, and Kenzie now needs to breach the crossfire. With the reinforcements, that cavalry firmly on the way, it doesn't matter. A 9-6 finish, and Apeks, they've done just about enough to keep themselves alive going onto their terrorist half.
You say that, but Forza are so good on the CT side sometimes, especially after the last series where they looked even more impressive on the CT side than they did on the T, chaining so many rounds together. Remember, that was a 13-3 or 12-3 rather. So that was absolutely phenomenal coming out from them. You imagine Apeks, they've already done better than they did on Dust 2. And this is Forza's map pick. Okay, you've got a little bit more time to read and figure out what's going on. But remember, they are firmly the underdogs in this scenario. And when you're going up against Forza on CT, I don't really care who you are. You're going to be at least in for a rough time.
It's definitely intimidating. I can say that much. Intimidating in the fact that even if you win this pistol round coming up, Forza have such a high proficiency with the Desert Eagles. They've been winning the majority of those follow-ups.
Yeah, absolutely. Forza is so good with pretty much any guns that you give them, especially Zorte, who's been impressing so frequently with those pistol round kills as well.
Oh yeah, and just put him with a scout.
Exactly. It almost doesn't matter what gun you give that man. And we saw earlier with those boosts, right? Jerry was the one to be the bottom of the tower in that scenario. And that obviously facilitated a nice opening pick in that previous round that we just saw to close out the first half. Something that you don't see too often, but when the IGL has got your back as the new recruit, or one of them anyway, you got to be hitting some nice shots. And I just think that they clearly understand on the Forza side who butters their bread. It's Zorte.
Exactly. And let's be honest, in all of these CIS tournaments, Forza have been given the short end of the stick. They haven't been one of these Gambits and Virtus Pros mopping up the Tier 3 scene and really making their statement becoming Tier 2 themselves. So Forza want to be one of those rosters. What's the only way to do that? They have such a stable lineup. Let's go towards the roster move. Take a chance on one of these ex-ethereal players who hasn't had the opportunity on the big stage. They've been playing in Tier 3 tournaments. So bring them into Premier, try and get into Pro League. Maybe they can compete with the likes of VP and Gambit. Now they have to compete with the Apeks Pistols.
They do indeed.
This is so
Early
speedy.
damage.
Yeah, they send the USPSs in first, even able to merit the first. That's the opener.
This is just brilliant as well, because what do Apeks do? Do they play the slow style to the same degree that Forza do? I think not. So they're going to have to get a little disciplined in this mid-round. Man, disadvantage. HP on their side a little bit. A couple players can get peppered down with just a few Glock body hits. Kenzie with the kit as well. Playing towards that B bomb site, which is where Apeks want to go. Rest of their members gathering for the exec. We've got 2 smokes, a Molotov, and a flash. Should be enough to get into position. But Kenzie on the flower pot. He's got a flash of his own. What can he do with it?
Let's remember he's got the defuse kit, so even if the bomb goes down, that defuse will be in an ideal spot. He's unable to connect the shots. Instead scrambles for the flashbang, and now they need to check out Almeza. He's at the back of this bomb site. In fact, it's down to Flit and Zorte. The C4 can go away, and Apeks, how will they establish these afterplants? Stepping... well, outside of the graveyard, they don't want to play between the coffins. Instead, Freddy Frog in the open leaves him very vulnerable to Banana. Nobody's coming from there. Instead, it's Flit up close and personal. They send in the low HP player first. Spotting the shadows, needs to connect and does. Freddy Frog out in the open. Might not be the ideal spot, but Apeks another pistol.
Yeah, he makes it work in that scenario, and that breathes some life into the Apeks T side here. Them getting that pistol round is so huge, but we know they're not out of the woods yet. Forza, so good in these after rounds, so good at denying the second round conversion and resetting their opponent's economy. A little bit harder to do against T's. They've got 4 MAC-10s. These firefights are going to be close range, favoring some of these pistols depending on the angles. And we already see 3 members from Forza towards this B site, where a lot of those angles are just a little bit better.
Oh, that's easy. You want it up close and personal, and that's why. Quick headshot, sweep away onto Dennis. Now the AK-47s need to control the engagement and actually play this from afar. Freddy Frog does into the apartments, knowing that longer range engagement favors the AK. And now they want to bail to B, where there still are 2 defenders holding. The double D eagle setup. Double D, nice and bouncy. A voluptuous setup, you could say, Pronogo. And Jerry actually just gets sprayed through the smoke. They don't even wait for the flashes to come through to try and eliminate Kenzie. Locked away on the back lines. They've done just about enough to make this competitive. Leaves Zorte looking for the frags through this smoke. Doesn't connect on any of the openings. Poly planting aggressive. That is a risk. One that isn't punished. He plays instead inside the graveyard, where the AK-47 can watch him down and create a crossfire with Poly at the back of this bomb site. MAC-10, I think he's just spotted the shadow, knows exactly where he's coming from, and the barrel definitely communicated. Both players knew. They were able to flick back in time.
Yeah, Forza still make it dangerous, but Apeks survive with 2. Bomb plant, economy secured. They should be able to tie this one up, because Forza will not have too much invested. Even as I say that, I remember how many unlikely rounds this CT side was able to find on Dust 2, almost regardless of weaponry. We've talked all of these members up. Flit at the top of the scoreboard. Zorte, top of the impact as well. It's just going to be a couple of nades, flashbang, 2 deagles, and a P250. So what can Forza do with that? They can get a couple of rifles, maybe. They can sort of scorched earth the ground of Apeks, or Almazer can walk right in and frag Gruss out of the server.
That is not what you want, especially when you've got such a massive advantage. Gruss has been a liability for Apeks over the last couple of weeks, missing some of these easier shots. He went 2 and 15 on Vertigo the other day. That was against Windstrike.
Yeah, playing against Russians seems not to be his specialty. He will get put down immediately. And with Dennis tagged down to 50, HP actually favoring Forza, even though the weapons don't. Positioning doesn't either, though. Apeks with all 4 members on A. It's only Kenzie to spot one out. Deals damage to Freddy, but will they even bother trying to retake in this scenario?
That is awkward. Perhaps setting up for exits and trying to lock Apeks onto this bomb site might be their best bet, knowing they've got nothing to save through. None of these rifles have been dropped yet. So nothing salvaged for Forza. They can go for a full buy in the next, knowing that these smokes are placed, and realistically, they just have to hold outside. Grease even getting a little fortunate there to nail one through the smoke. MAC-10 retrieved isn't exactly the prize that Forza are looking for. Maybe even trying
No,
to
but
save
after
it.
so many MAC-10s were purchased by Apeks in the previous round, is it any surprise that one would be on the ground now? Mazer will drop as well. Zorte still just on the measly USPS. Not going to be good for any exits. Nobody presenting.
I'd be playing this aggressive Pronogo if I had the MAC-10 in hand. I don't realistically want to carry that through to the next round, but I've got a suspicion that's what Jerry has in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll toss it over to Almazer by the looks of things. Or will it simply be discarded? It's playing hot potato right now, ending up in the top fragger's lap, who upgrades it into an AUG. So you're absolutely right there. Pretty much nothing to lose by taking some faces with the MAC-10. They decide they don't want it after all. We're into the 4th round of the second half. Tie game. Apeks managing to make it happen. This time looking to do the same. Get one better. Double digits. 5 rifles. That's what's on the card for them. Plenty of utility on both sides. Only 1 kit on Zorte, notably. Keep your eyes on that for any post-plant scenarios. Should be towards A by the current line of scrimmage. We got 3 members of Forze to receive. They're going to be looking to defend, and we know they're good for it, especially with these rifles.
Bit of an unforced error, I would say, from Forza. Saving the MAC-10, not playing it aggressive, only to throw it away anyway. Doesn't make much sense. Still won't have a massive impact on this round. Maybe a very slight impact on Apex's economy. They're able to build it up with a couple more rifles in hand. Russ, the first to drop once again. They'll play it aggressive as a response. Flit just waiting for a flashbang, and even to trade out to the AK-47, that's a risk. One that he wants to take for that one-tap potential, and with Polly just locked away at Arch, there's nobody to support him. Kenzie wraps that away for free, maybe even catching Apeks with their pants down. They knew that this was now going to be a B-wrap. They wanted that point man. Instead, another AK-47 has been gifted away, and Forza know exactly what is going on. Flower pot boost established. He can look right over the top. Jerry 1, not quite done, able to backtrack. And as the bomb goes away, Almazer throws the nade right over the top to do even further damage. Dennis, no chance. He's caught between a rock and a hard place, and this bomb will be very easily defused.
Easily, indeed. It only had just gone down before those nades started raining hellfire and brimstone, and Apeks, they're not able to raise hell, not one bit. They will drop, and Forza take us to double digits. The first team to do so. This map much more competitive than the last, but still favoring the CTs, especially after they get those early engagements. Apeks trying to face into Forza. Misread, perhaps, or overconfidence. And you said it earlier, Squid, as well, with Flit playing fast and loose with the rules of engagement, running up towards the get that AK-47 from the smoke, despite the fact that so many Apeks players could and in fact were there. Crazy stuff. But right now we just have 4 rifles, a single deagle, of course on the coach. Pretty commonplace occurrence to see a coach stand in and be purchasing rifles for his fraggers. Unfortunately, not too many players on the Apeks side earning the name Fragger. Going to be 5 members towards A for the T's. Forced to receive. See if these AKs can make something happen.
Certainly can. This crossfire is impenetrable. You see Flit from within the pit, basically able to sandwich everybody away. Not a single point of damage dealt there from Apeks. They basically get sandwiched between both of those angles. They didn't have any smoke grenades to get out into that one, and as a result, they get absolutely crushed.
Yeah, it's indomitable coming out from Forza. I mean, did Apeks even play that round? It looked like they got mopped up instantaneously, and now they've only got about 2K on every player. That means that there will be a sole investment of a P250 on Gruss, which may as well be nothing in this scenario. Plenty of head armor for the CTs, so unlikely to find anything. Now Gruss burns as well. That is not what you want to see. Further damage from the nade. Aggressive play, actually.
They'll play this right into the faces of Apeks. Yes, they're watching the angles, and a lot of pistols to try and convert this one. Only the single rifle drops, though. Gruss still unspotted into Mexico. Sandwiches away a second, but this economy is already built up for Forza, so economical damage isn't going to be much impactful. They can go for the full buy into this one, even putting the AWP in the hands of Zorte for the first time. And realistically, Apeks are so far behind in this map.
Yeah, and this is the time where you can also start to sacrifice on the head armor, which is what you see Jerry doing, since he was one of the members to fall and had to reinvest into this round. He's stuck with only 2,400. No helmet needed, though. 5 AKs for Apeks. And Jerry just knows that experience coming through in every single part of his play. Right now, it's just Kreese to receive some damage. Bit of a dance towards bridge. Freddy gets the better of Flit, who has been top fragging, but look at Kenzie's positioning.
They've got no mid-control whatsoever. That allows him to take the position right in behind. They're being sandwiched by Jerry at the top as well. And just popping shots through those dissipating smokes allows Kenzie to swing for number 3. Freddy Frog prevented any visual by the smoke grenades. And with the bomb planted just out in the open, it's on the ground. Certainly no digits tapped in, though. That one will not be exploding here in round number 22. Unreal performance from Forze.
I'm seeing flashbacks to Dust 2 from the eyes of the Apeks players here. Remember that they only got 5 rounds in that whole map. Oh man, through the smoke as well. One last indignity for Freddy Frog. What can he realistically make happen here? Probably not a whole lot. Even if he does get a couple of frags, so what? Look at the Forza economy. It's just dominating. They've got nothing going for them on the T side so far. Double digits elude them yet again. And Forza 3 rounds away from making this a 2-0 sweep.
He can't do anything. He can do no things.
He has 0 things that are available for him to do.
That is very true.
It looks like he'll wait. I suppose that's one thing he can do.
That
10
is.
seconds.
He can also
counting
save.
down.
That's another thing.
Oh, yeah. I have heard that Jesus himself saved, so Freddy Frog may be our new savior. At least you're taking inspiration from the right kind of people on the side of Apeks.
Always good to
Forza,
have
on the
your role
other
models.
hand. Yeah. Forza and role models don't usually mix, but we'll make an exception for this particular game. We've got ourselves a very competitive map compared to Dust 2, but all the recent history would tell you that Forza were never going to drop this one.
Oh,
Zorta drops Poly. That's a nice quick opening frag, and with pretty much nothing invested from Apeks. I mean, they've bought down quite a bit, and Freddy saved that AK-47, but has not yet found any impact.
challenging Zorte is dangerous even when you've got an AWP in hand. So when you're the coach, not even the permanent player on the team, and you've only got a Desert Eagle to play with, that becomes quite literally impossible to hit the shot. Unless you pre-fire him out of the server, takes impeccable game sense, which perhaps Poly does have in the locker. Just not in this round. Doesn't take any shots, and it allows Zorte a secondary angle. Of course, he's going to mop even more away. These eco frags just being taken with ease. Gruss hasn't really had much of an impact on any of the maps we've seen him play thus far in Premier. Disappointing. He had big impact on the last season. One of the better players Apeks had to offer. Instead, he gets absolutely, just completely cataclysmically taken down. 14-9 here. Forza, massive lead.
Massive lead and 2 rounds away from a 2-0. That's what I'm smelling right now, Squid. It looks like Pauly wasn't an esports expert after all. He's only found a couple of interesting mid-round calls. Pretty much nothing else to write home about, at least on the T side. Where is his expertise? Where are the strats? That's what Apeks need right now. Yeah, okay, he's a coach, he's a stand-in, but surely he's got something going on in that brain of his. Right now it's telling him to pressure towards B yet again. Freeze down to 3. Look at all this utility.
They also reined in a tertiary HE there. That only, well, a whisker away from doing the damage. Instead, they'll peek into Zorte, and another shot through the smoke might even confirm this one. They'll push into A. They've got plenty of space to work with, but still Zorte to contend with. Another smoke, you know he'll pop shots through right off the arm of his teammate, and knows exactly where those bullets are coming from. AK-47 clearly gives away the tracers. And for anyone else, if there was one in the server, certainly wouldn't. Instead, Zorte going to pop further shots through. They've got 4 players watching these crossfires, and realistically, Forza have been held at an absolute arm's length. Time ticking down. Zorte with another one. You miss every shot you don't hit, so of course he wants to fire as many bullets as possible. Coming through these smokes now. Dennis, a perfect angle. Leaves it all down to Zorte. He's got the AWP ready and waiting, but bomb already far ticked. Connects the shot before that C4 explodes. It'll still be the round Apeks, and it's all down to Dennis playing the pivot position.
Yeah, that was brilliant. As soon as Dennis realized it was a one-on-one after those fast frags towards brackets, that meant that he could slow things down. Bomb music playing in his ears. He knew that that bomb was going. Double digits for Apeks. Brilliant play in those retake scenarios for them. And Forza, the fact that they ceded so much ground after Zorte's opening frag, that's a little puzzling to me. Jerry may have thought that there was going to be a bit of a B split. Maybe a lack of map control for them. Gives them the wrong idea. Now Jerry looking for that information. He will fall. That's Gruss to take him down. And first time Apeks have had a man advantage in what feels like forever on this half.
And off the back of Gruss, who has been the player falling first the majority of the time, I have to point at Pronogo.
Yeah, absolutely the case too. Gruss finally finding some impact. You know, if he was anything to go by on Dust 2, he had some excellent clutch attempts, including one successful in a 1-on-2 on the B site. So for him to start activating on this T side might be the comeback Apeks needs. Remember, only 4 rounds separating them, but they've got a lot to do just to secure overtime potential, let alone end this in regulation and bring us to a third, which would be on Mirage, a map that does favor Forza.
That's the puzzling thing about this veto. All 3 maps really do seem to favor Forza. Dust 2, yeah, if Zorte steps up, then he can be the difference maker. He certainly was. Mirage, likewise. 3 pretty AWP-heavy maps. In the current pool, I don't know what could be defined as not an AWP-heavy map when you've got Zorte on the server.
Yeah, he's good enough to break the meta just by himself. Right now, Apeks trying to connect the dots. Some nades out towards B. Might be a good fake.
Wow.
Gruss catches Zorte off guard, and that's it. Nobody here to receive. Bomb plant will go down with 20 seconds left on the clock. Time no longer a factor. Does Forza even go for it? Looks like they're going to be saving.
Possibly not. And this might perplex the audience, but realistically, they've got so much money, they do not want to lose that advantage. They are playing their absolute utmost Counter-Strike. Here, knowing that the scoreline is so close, they cannot afford to eco at any point.
Something that I definitely saw Forza doing a little bit more on Dust 2 was taking those risks that could result in unforced errors. They worked out, obviously. They just had Apex's number that whole first map. This one is a different story. Forza's map pick, Apeks adapting. T side, where they showed a little bit of life on Dust 2. Showing much more so far as we get into late rounds of this second half. Will be a nice investment coming out from both teams once again. Up onto Freddy Frog and onto Zorte, who rebuys it. And they even have another one in the next if they need it. Forza looking to make sure that they don't even need to rely on their laurels. Economic advantage still in their courtyard. Apeks, on the other hand, if they lose this round, it could very well be reset, and it would be a mixed buy. They're going to try to end on a 12th by the end of this one.
He certainly will, and playing this one alike to which the Counter-Strike we saw on Dust 2 incredibly quickly, trying to merit those opening frags. By the way, that's 4 in a row for Gruss over the last 2 rounds. Most of which into this A-bomb site, which he's been very proficient at taking. This might force Forza into the issue. Knowing they're only a player down, this is entirely possible, so they slip through CT.
They're already going back at this point. No interest in the A site for the CTs. Apeks, on the other hand, they're finding plenty of success. As you mentioned earlier, Squid, we've got so much to write home about for Gruss all of a sudden. Springing to life. Maybe you speak his name finally and he appears. Could very well be the case. Forza now only 2 rounds ahead at the end of this bomb timer. Could be absolutely enormous as well, because Apeks now have the momentum on their side. Just think about what that does to your confidence. You take one player and the rest of them scurry away. Surely Apeks are feeling good around now, right about now, and well, they've got a 12th on the board. Just as we said, and all 5 members surviving, money not an issue. Now, even if they do lose this next one, they can still threaten overtime just by the virtue of that cash in the reserves.
We've got to remember that Forza, they just saved with 4 players alive. In the previous, they saved with 3. At some point, Apeks have to challenge these saves and try and take these rifles away. The money, even though Forza have been losing rounds, has been building. Yeah,
right now, Forza need to build some more advantages than just the cash, though. Just look at this. Zorta already emptying his utility belt. Not a single nade for him anymore. Expended it towards Banana. A couple others on the rest of his team dispensed with. Top mid smoked. Apeks denied information as to any flanks. Forze's CT side has been a little bit harder to read.
Oh, it has. They've not been playing these stacks. Instead, just holding with a single man towards quad side, which, well, has been taken away the majority of the time. We've got to remember that it's Polly, the coach, finding the successes this time. That'll force them into A once again with the rotates a million miles away. Flit also falls. This will be another Forza save. There has been very little action on this A bomb site for Forza. I don't think they've taken a kill towards this side of the map in the last 5.
Yeah, it's just been brutal. Obviously, Forza had some impeccable holds previously. They need to find that form again. Otherwise, Apeks will threaten a tie game in the next. And of course, that money will continue to be drained. You said it earlier, Apeks might be going hunting this time around. We get into this. Bomb timer starting to tick away.
Oh, they need to. They really need to rip the server of these rifles. It's something that we haven't seen up to this point. And taking this banana control, bomb already exploded. It looks like they won't be able to merit the openings once again. 3 save for Forza. That's the 3rd round in a row they've got away with over half of their team surviving.
At some point, you got to be looking for a round win if you're Forza. It's been the last 3 for Apeks, remember? Maybe even 4 in a row at this point when they got double digits on the board. Now only 1 round separates our 2 teams. A defeat in regulation, still possible for Forza after they looked so good at the beginning of this half. Right now, 3 members towards B yet again. That's the default they like to be holding. Maybe switching up the A site defense instead. 1 player towards pit, another towards apartments. See what Apeks want to do in response. Right now, pressuring B yet again.
Oh, Zorte. If there was anybody to get you back into this map, it would be him. The MVP of the server thus far, for my money, especially on Dust 2, where he had so much impact. Him and Flit, that dream team combination, picking up from where Flit and Z-Power left off. Now the smokes are placed, and Apeks have a question mark. Do they decide to challenge this one? Especially with the sandbags completely covered. Almazer is looking right over the top, the overseer of this situation. Or is it back to Old Faithful? The trusty A bomb site, which has worked out so many times. They'll play this one slowly, trying to creep up Banana. Freddy Frog needs to be the opener here with the AWP. We've not seen that specific rifle play much of a part on the T side for Apeks. When will we see a rotate from Forza? Maybe off the back of these flashes. The flower pot boost is in effect, and through these smokes, they have to check it. That's Polly's job. He instantly swings, and through the smokes, they find the second. That gives away the B bomb sites.
This is so tense from Forza. They still want to go for this with only 1 man down. Look at their positioning as well. The smokes saved by Apeks for this exact purpose will drown them out. And Forza save again to give up the tie game?
They might have to. They don't want to give away Zorte's AWP. It's the one thing they've got right now. That money's still built off the back of these really savage saves. This style certainly isn't favoring them. They won so many disadvantageous situations over on Dust 2, but here on Inferno, we've not seen those clutch attempts whatsoever. So Apeks, they bail out of this site too late. Means they can't hunt, and that's one of the difficulties about Inferno. If you send 2 of your players hunting, the retake could really surprise you, catch you off guard, and the defuse can already be happening while 2 teammates are scurrying elsewhere. 14-14, and here finally comes the pause. What are they talking about, Pronogo?
Yeah, if I'm on the Jerry side of this equation, if I'm on Forza here, I'm talking about a way to get that map control early, the information that they crave without losing out to Gruss and Polly on those opening frags, which has definitely been symptomatic of some of the round losses they had thus far. Apeks, on the other hand, they just need to keep playing the percentage game. After they get the bomb plant, maybe it's okay not to hunt, because it doesn't really matter how many guns you buy and how much money you've got if you can't get those round wins, even when you do have a man advantage. One of the few times Forza have dropped a round where they got the opening kill. Zorte, he's already been stepping up on 20 frags. Kenzie and Flit above him, 21 and 23 respectively. You can't say that the players on Forza are not firing on all cylinders. Meanwhile, Apeks, more of a team effort, more even distribution. It's going to be just the same default from Forza, so the mid rounds are going to be different, but Apeks have already changed the pace up.
This has worked so many times towards A, where Forza have flailed. They surely will want to go for a retake knowing that it's last round coming up next, but the entries go the other way and Forza give it away once again. Jerry gets caught on mid. This has fallen apart at the seams. Almeza cannot come back into this one, and although the money is buoyant, they're being found on all accounts. Polly tries to get aggressive and gives away an AK-47. That's the ultimate consolation prize here, Pronogo. Nothing to pop open the champagne about, as they will lose map points.
They absolutely will. Apeks cleaning house as well. Just Kenzie left in a 1-on-2 with no time to defuse the bomb. It's gonna be over very shortly here in Apeks. All the momentum. Don't you favor them in the final round? Don't you favor them to take us to Mirage? It's absolutely possible now, but Forza can answer back in the next and threaten that OT that we've been starved of here so far in our casts of ESEA Premier. We might be seeing a third mapper, but either way, we're going to more rounds of Counter-Strike. Look at this. Forza, another buy on the cards. Flit with that AUG. He's been so good with it as well, especially towards that A-bomb site. Maybe that's what they need.
And this is why we love Inferno, Pronogo. It always seems to deliver.
Absolutely the case. Overtime on Inferno. Name a more iconic duo, but Apeks are not going to wait. Keeping the pace fast. Only 2 members this time around after the initial grenade exchange. That's going to be Kenzie cheating back towards that A bomb site. Now 3 members here for the first time in what feels like forever for Forza's CT side. Do they have the right read? Apeks still threatening with all of this utility.
They haven't been sending Dennis in first the majority of the time. Instead, the Molotovs are going to flush out Banana, firmly in Apex's control.
And you see Pauly on the other side of the map from his team so often. Some IGLs like to entry for their team. They can kind of micromanage their star fraggers where necessary, but Pauly's not interested in that. He's gathering information and keeping this threat real. Kenzie, on the other hand, just exited Speedway, now holding from CT spawn. Apeks looking to finish at B. Pauly may be found out here as well by Flit.
We talk about the power of a double AWP setup. We don't often speak of the power of a double in-game leader setup, Pronogo. Pauly pretty much playing that role here today from the coach's position. He's in the server right now. 30 seconds left to tick, and Apeks have slowed the pace. We've seen them try and take these bomb sites in the first minute practically every time. So here spotting out Pauly will be the pivot. I think a dome spotted. Maybe Flit knows that there's a cranium lurking in the apartments, and he certainly does. Pauly finds it anyway despite getting tagged, and that's the power of the AK-47. Follows it up. Inferno might go the way of Apeks as they are losing everybody. Jerry and Kenzie, they've been outmaneuvered, and even though he's got apartments control, there is no chance in the 1 versus 5 to get the job done. Dennis finishes, and Apeks finally do it here in Premier.
They finally do it. A map win in their books and against Forza on their own map pick? Are you kidding me? Absolutely phenomenal play coming out from them to get the run back. They were staring down a 9-14 score line. And especially after a disastrous Dust 2, you did not know if Apeks had it in them. But Pauly stepping up massively, gathering the information and the opening frags, especially in those last couple of rounds. And Gruss himself as well. I mean, we were singing the opposite of his praises. We had some harsh criticism for him coming into this series, coming into the last couple maps that we saw. Well, he certainly proved us wrong on those openers, at least on the T side.
Oh, he certainly did. He's had one map where he's really stepped up and put Apeks in his pocket, and it's all down to those opening frags, which on Inferno especially, you absolutely need. We need to see that continue on Mirage, which of course will be our third map, the first Pronogo that me and you have been treated to here in ESEA Premier, and I'm excited for it. It'll come right after this very short break, so don't go anywhere because we will be